was an old hippie.
Okay, let me do this right now. Are you rolling, Buzz?
Did I hear it say take one?
Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're just so excited that you all could. Thank you, Nettie. Amazing. Thank you. What a blessing to have all of you here today to celebrate our wonderful mother, Michele Munoz Acker. And part of our family has to leave right now, so we just wanted to quickly introduce them, and so that you can know that this is part of the mom's family that we're just getting to know now, and it's an amazing experience. And so I just, they'll all come up and say their names and who they are. Quick. Let's go.
Why do I have to go first? Finally, I'm first. I'm Enriqueta's daughter, Enriqueta Sanchez, but her maiden name is Munoz. She is Connie's sister, older sister.
Michelle.
Michelle, older sister.
Yes.
Next.
I'm Dolores. I'm Michelle's sister.
And our amazing aunt, and we really have Mom's had a long relationship with her, but we're just getting to know her now, and we're really enjoying that. So it's been an amazing blessing.
I'm Armida, and I'm Michelle's sister also.
Yes. So.
I'm Darren, and this is my mother over here, Dolores.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So that's our cousin, for those of you who keeping count. So.
And he has a brother who was in school at UCLA in between Ned and me, and was there while Ned was at UCLA. So
Yeah, my brother, Richard.
Yeah,
so
Richard.
we're all getting to know the family. Okay, so they have to kick off, but I just want to.
So we're going to release them now. What? Are we supposed to say anything now?
Yeah, well, yeah. What was that for, woman? So this is an amazing turnout. This is exactly the kind of event Mom would absolutely love. She'd probably be on thirds with the potluck there. And so we're here to celebrate a dish, but it's my mom who's a dish. She always told us she was a dish. And if you see those pictures of her, she was a dish. And an amazing force of nature, a soul unlike any other. And we all have stories about her, so I'd love for us to all share those amazing stories of this amazing woman who had an amazing life.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. Thank you for coming out. My mom really felt after 53 years that Topanga and folks in Topanga were her family. And there's all these different intersecting circles in her life here that are pretty amazing, from actual family to a family that she carved out of this community, and including a lot of you who've known her for decades and decades. She moved to the Canyon in '61 when Allie was a baby. So we were born and raised essentially here. We could tell you stories about this building. And we have pavement outside, which is nice. These are good touches. I told my son the story about how I tossed a kid down the hill over here in preschool, which my mother severely reprimanded me for, but he crushed a Tonka, so I had to make him pay. But my mom would have loved to have been here. As most of you guys know, she was always loved being kind of a center of the party, and this would have been something she absolutely adored. And so I want to thank you all. She had a huge heart, and she loved everybody. And you guys were all every one of you were part of her life in one way or another. So thank you for being here. This are my kids. This is Zoe and Rafa, and if you don't know, and Cece and Aldi, Allie's kids. So they're a little shy about saying something, but.
I just want to say I'm not going to say anything right now, but I wrote a little letter. It's over there on that poster glued on, so you can go over there and read it if you would like to.
I gotta lift you. Oh my gosh. He's so heavy.
Don't throw your back out.
Yay! And I also wrote a letter on the poster over there. And if you want to read that, you can read that also.
And one thing about Mom, we always knew we were loved, but one thing she loved more than us was her grandkids. That's for sure. So, come on.
Hi. So my grandma loved us coming over whenever we had a chance, and she loved involving us in everything. And this was her main spot. She'd always come here for events and stuff, and she'd especially like that table with the food. And she'd watch people, and she'd have fun, and she'd laugh, and she was a great person. Thank you.
Grandma's center of attention, where she got to talk to everybody. She'd like to hold court at the post office. I think everybody can say they saw her at the post office. She went more than she needed to, believe me, because that was her place to talk to everybody.
Hi. She was a great woman, and I loved her a lot.
So I'm thinking that we sort of get in a semi-round, and then we're just going to all tell stories. Does that work for everybody? Maybe push the tables back a bit, take a 2-minute break, and then we all, or if you want to just sit here and just stay where you are, I guess we're going to stay. Stay. Okay, good. I got it. Okay.
So you guys all have anecdotes about her? Whatever story you want to tell.
I know Teresa from the AME, is she here? Yes, I wanted you to start off with one of your stories. This is I call them the soup club, because they met at Callahan's, and there's an intersection of some mom's friends from Callahan's, which is a place in Santa Monica, and this is the.
You guys don't know, of course, all you guys know my mom was a teacher.
Right.
So Association of Mexican American Educators is on me.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Thanks, Nettie. Oh, and before I forget, please, everybody sign the book. I'm going to start the book on this end, and if you could just pass it around and everybody sign it, that would be great.
Good afternoon, everybody. Again, like Ellie and Ned were saying, Michele was just a wonderful colleague, friend, and I call her as a mentor. There were a group of about 15 of us. We are from Santa Monica West Side, teachers who are teachers of everybody, but in particular we help the Latino Hispanic students. And so our goal, we're a 50-year organization, but in Santa Monica we've been hitting it hard for about 40 years. And we would meet at different places. Michele was like the secretary. She would call, she would set it up, she wanted to know what kind of food was there, and she was just a really instrumental person that would be, and she'd call us back and say, we have the place. She was just a loyal, dedicated person who always wanted to make sure and look around that everybody was taken care of. And on behalf of people like Carmen Paul, Rosemary de la Peña, Elias Serna, Nati Vasquez, the school board members, Oscar and Maria Vasquez from Santa Monica College, all of us knew her. And 2 years ago we had a big forum at Santa Monica College. And Michele would come, she'd come to the meeting, she'd talk, she'd give her opinion, we'd sit, and we went there and we'd sit there, and she saw Professor Gomez-Quinones, who's a very important historian. And when she found out he was there, she turned around and she says, I have to go talk to him. One time he did not let my kids come to class, and she turned around, and I go, Michele! And she turned around and she introduced it, she did it so well. And I says, good for her, but anyway. She was a person who I think was, even to me, a person who I would always love to sit and hear her. Elias Serna wanted to videotape her, and he recorded her and wanted to know her story. All the different events that she went, even from the civil rights movement. She talked about being in buses and going. She went to Washington, D.C. I mean, she's a woman of just integrity, of just historical knowledge. And I just wanted to also share that aside from all our meetings at Virginia Park, Callahan's, the forums and conferences we put on, going to Mexico in our organization, just a myriad of things that we went to. Even going to LACMA, actually 2 things stand out in my mind, LACMA and Plaza de Cultura in downtown LA. We were in a group, and we were all there standing there, and all of a sudden Michele started telling, and she knew more than the docent. We were turning around listening to her. She was a historian at hand, just a wealth of knowledge, witty, funny, but intelligent, and we really admired her for that. And we are a scholarship organization. We raise funds, and as a matter of fact, in 2 weeks, we're going to be meeting at El Toritos. And sometimes you say, Teresa, why do we have to meet there? I kind of don't, like what they serve. They says, that's okay, Michele, we're going to still go. We're going to be bringing blankets and toys for children in orphanages in Tijuana and for the farm workers in Fresno. That's something that Michele would love to be there and would love to help us, but in Michele's spirit, as she served as spirit to our organization, and I think is continuing on as far as I can see in your community, I just want to pay tribute to her and to continue her laughter, her spirit, her love of life, and just in helping of others. And it's in gratitude and honor that our organization and all of us pay tribute to her. And God bless her as a friend, as a colleague, and as a mentor. Thank you very much.
So, and we're setting up a scholarship in Mom's name, and we'll be dealing with Ame on that. And so if there is something you'd like to contribute to, that's what we're going to do, because I think that's best signifies who she was and what was important to her. So, Stephanie?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Green, and I met Michele in, 1984. We both started teaching at Columbus Middle School. She was, as you all know, she loved to laugh. She made me laugh so much. I would be crying. She made me laugh so much. So I have a special story. She really was a teacher's teacher. She had high standards. Her students earned their grades. She didn't believe in inflating scores, and she wasn't afraid to stand up to the machine. She really wasn't. She had a lot of guts. She was brave. But I want to share a story. One time at lunch, in our famous little lunch group, we had a teacher who was always bragging about her husband. Oh, I'm going to jack this and jack that. And one day Michele pipes up. She says, well, there's a new man in my life. And then we looking at Michele, okay, fess up, come on. And she said, well, he's a real animal. He won't stand his, and so she had to string it along. Well, eventually she cued me in, but every day it was something else. He won't stay on his side of the bed, and he's a redheaded lover boy. And so finally, after a couple of weeks, this teacher with this Kathy, who, kept talking about her husband, said, who is this guy, Michele? So she finally fessed up. It was her loving dog, Rojo. But she kept us in stitches. I do want to say she was ahead of her time. As a new teacher, she was also my mentor. And she had those kids doing raps 30 years ago. Those kids were rapping up a storm, and she'd do it at lunchtime. Just anything for the kids, she was there. And it wasn't beyond her to show up unexpectedly at a door of a student, and she could hear them inside. I think that's Mrs. Acker at our door. And she was an advocate for kids, and she wanted them to learn. And I miss her every day. Love you, Michele.
So I would just like people to come up and tell stories. I know Megan has some stories. But just please come up, because really everyone has a story, so I'd really love to hear them all, and we'd love to save them for the Historical Society.
Hi, everybody. Well, I'm going to say something I remember, and then both my sisters, Caitlin and Anthea, have a little story that I'm bringing. Probably my favorite memory of Michele was I babysat for Ned and Allie when they were in diapers. And so Michele would be getting ready to go out with her husband Chuck, and she'd be wearing this little skin-tight black dress, and I would just look in complete awe because I thought she looked like an Italian movie star. She was gorgeous, and so I cherish remembering her that way. And then Anthea's memory is that she rented the downstairs apartment at Michele's house for a period of time as a young adult. And apparently Michele had a parrot, and the parrot had learned how to do Michele's phone voice and laugh. And so Anthea said she never knew if Michele was home or not, because when Michele wasn't home, the parrot would be doing this imitation upstairs. And Caitlin's favorite memory is that she was at the Fernwood Market, and she was wearing shorts, and she was very self-conscious about whether her legs were okay, and she said Michele drove up, got out of the car, looked at her and said, "You have the most gorgeous legs." And for Caitlin, that was life-changing. So, and the only other thing is that Michele once told me that she was Japanese, Mexican, Jewish, and one other nationality. I can't remember what it was, but I was always in awe of her, and she called me Megala, which, so anyway, I miss her and I cherish her memory.
I'll try. I'm Andy Sheldon, and my parents and Michele and her former husband were all together in the 60s and raised us together. Ned is my bosom bud, and I love you, and love this family. My first memory of Michele, I think, is obviously from the 60s. And she was one of those Topangans who had the VW bus that had the "War is not good for children and other living things" on it, and a McCarthy bumper sticker. And the kids would all pile into that VW bus and go down to the Museum of Science and Industry or Leo Carrillo or whatever thing we were doing that day. And then a certain point came, and my parents separated and went their separate ways, and a year later, Michele and Chuck separated and went their separate ways, and so our moms were basically two single moms in Topanga in the late 60s, early 70s, and they basically raised the four of us together, Allie and Ned and my brother Charlie and myself. And so the kids would be switched off between families. 3 days in a row would be Michele's, 3 days in a row would be us, and the parrot, yeah. So it was kind of sad because before that there was times when all the four parents would get together and strum folk songs with the dulcimer and sing "The Fox Went Out on a Chilly Night" and Mariah. And we had to, we sort of grew up kind of quickly, and it was, there was some pain in that for us, divorced parents. And a memory I have was when I was at Michelle's house with the 4 kids, and Michelle scolded me. And I said, "You can't do that." Just like Theo would say, my boy Theo up there. Very defiant I was, just like him. And she said, and Michelle said to me, "Well, your mother and I have a quirk. And, I have that privilege and duty when I'm in charge of you that, I need to make sure you guys are in line." And I said, "Well, you get on your cork and just hop back on your bottle." And so this morning I was thinking about, what am I going to say? And I said, yeah, the thing about the cork. I thought, but is cork a word? And I looked it up, and I spent about 20 minutes on my iPhone looking for the definition of cork, and I couldn't find it. But I'm sure it really happened, because I have such a vivid memory of telling her to hop back onto her bottle. But Michelle did have such a huge vocabulary, and she was such a well-learned person. I was just sure it was a real word, because, Michelle wouldn't be wrong. And so, yeah, through the years, Michelle, has continued to be my auntie. And I was with her, at the end with the family, and I really miss her. It's just not going to be the same living in this canyon without her. She came to all my kids' performances at the elementary school, and was there at every passage of a milestone. So I miss her very much, but let's celebrate her life, and I'm so happy to be with all you today doing that. Thank you.
Andy's brother Charles couldn't be here, but he's with us in spirit because he's out of the country. So we're just thinking of him, and I know he wanted to be here. If anybody else, kids, I have 2 stories that you can read from other people. So if my kids would come up and read this, because I need my glasses, and I don't think I'm going to tear up so much it's not going to help anyway. So Cece Alding, please come up. I need you each to read one of these stories. And then, is there anybody else in the wings that we could have a couple people that? Oh, Terry, perfect. Okay, good. Okay.
I want to read this one.
Okay, you read this one.
Mom, he won't be able to read that.
Oh, you have to read it.
No, I can't even read that either. It looks like you're
They
writing.
can no longer read cursive.
I can read.
No, Mom, I was never able to read your writing.
Hey, Mom, who is this from?
Oh, okay. This first one is from my law school roommate, and Louise Welby, who's the managing associate general counsel at Freddie Mac.
Should I read the highlighted thing?
Read that.
No, just the paragraph, not the. Okay.
Yes.
When I first started law school, I moved 3,000 miles away from my family. As Thanksgiving got closer, the combination of the long distance caused an impending panic about upcoming final law school exams led to my decision not to go home to spend Thanksgiving with my family. Lucky for me that Allie was my roommate and invited me to spend Thanksgiving with her in Topanga. Allie's mom welcomed me into her home with her characteristic warmth and laughter. I soon discovered that I was not the only refugee looking for a place to spend a holiday away from my family. Mrs. Acker extended her hospitality to a large group of us that year. Her living room looked like a mini UN with the sound of many languages and accents floating in the air. Somehow, all of us fit at a long table for dinner. At one point, the conversation turned toward food. I probably remarked that I had never had pesto before. Allie prompted her mother to ask me what I ate for lunch when I was a kid. Not really realizing that I was being set up affectionately, I answered truthfully, Jif on white bread every day from 1st through 7th grade. Miss Acker looked at me with horror and said something along the lines that she was amazed that I was alive. I will never forget the warmth of that day or the loveliness of Mrs. Acker and her lovely daughter.
This is from my brothers and my one of our oldest cousins, who's Sharon Acker Johnson, and she just has a hysterical story too, because everybody wrote their stories. Let's see, right
It's
there.
down here.
Yeah, start
I
there.
have many.
Yeah.
I can't really read it all. It's not.
Can somebody read cursive that's got crosses
It's
on?
not really neat.
I'll work on this.
Whoops, sorry. Got my tippy toes here. Thank you. Michele is, I guess you could still say, one of our very first friends when we moved into the canyon in 1964. We've lived here for 50 wonderful years, and one of the reasons why the canyon is so beautiful and wonderful is the people, and Michele was one of those. Her children were a little bit older than ours, but about the same, both in elementary school. We and their family became good friends, and a lot of the things that mean Topanga to us involved the Ackers and the Walkers. I don't know if they're here today. But along with that, Michele, as all of you know, was a very, she never stayed still. She was full of life, and she made our lives wonderful in the canyon because of that. She also had that feeling of searching, I think, as well. And she joined the temple that my family and I belong to in Los Angeles. It's a Buddhist temple. And one of the things that I thought of as I was taking a shower, all of a sudden it popped in my mind last night. And it's a saying that is from the Dhammapada. And I thought, oh, this is Michele. Whoso is compassionate is everywhere beloved. By the kind and good she is prized as a friend, and at death her heart is full of peace. I just felt that expressed so many things. As you heard from everyone else who offered some memories of her, she was open to so many things, and that made her very rich, I think, because she was willing to listen and receive from all different avenues of life. Just a couple of things I remember. We weren't as close all along as some of you are, but it didn't matter. In the middle of the night, I would get a call from her, and she'd say, go to a Channel 7 or whatever. She says, there's a program that you just have to listen to. And then that was her way. And so that was part of her. And let's see, what else can I think of? I remember an emergency trip to UCLA when she had she was short on, I don't know, she had to take orange juice or something. I remember that. She joined an organization at our temple called Kinnara, and went on retreats with us to San Luis Obispo, and always she, I'm sure she received a lot, but she contributed in her inimitable way. When we heard that she was ill, although I knew her health was always very frail, we were very, very shocked, of course, but we rushed down to the facility in Santa Monica and we spent a very lovely, relaxing afternoon with her, talking about old times, and then they were having a piano concert, so we kind of sat on the fringes and talked and listened. And she was looking so well and sounding so much herself that I was very, very shocked when we heard that she had to be moved to another facility, and then shortly thereafter she had passed away. So we just wanted to share a little bit with those of you. Because of Michele, I have met many friends that I have lost contact with in the canyon. So in a way, she's still working her magic. I just wanted to have a chance to express those few words, and thank you very much for listening.
I know. Janice has to go, so I just wanted to...
Oh, yeah, we've had play tickets for a while, and so I was going to give this to Allie to have somebody else read it, but she dragged me up here. One of my chronic memories of Michele was that when she found out that I had a hiking pig, Bo and I have a hiking pig, years ago, the first hiking pig, we now have hiking pig number 2, every time she saw us, she'd come up and say, "How's the piggy?" And then she'd just crack up. And you couldn't help, no matter what type of mood you were in, you couldn't help but feel lifted and better, you know. And then she'd say, I want another picture, because I think we only gave her one of the first pig, and she kept that. But anyway, this is a poem I wrote, and I'm sure some of you have heard it because I've said it at a lot of memorials. I had a lot of loss in my life, and I woke up about 3:30 in the morning and just had to write to get it out. So this is for Allie and her brother, wherever he is, and family. It's called Grief to Grace to Gratitude. Life is profoundly enigmatic and deeply mysterious. So be humble, be respectful, but not excessively serious, and I think Michele would go for that. Embrace the painful grief, then let it ebb and flow into the warmth of friends and family and the comfort of nature's glow. Then, reluctantly release it to the infinite expanse above, to be transformed into unconditional, universal love. Oh, the heart still feels the lingering shadows of sorrow, but this journey only opens it wider to the gifts and the joys of tomorrow. Thank you.
Hi. In 1963, a group of people got together to go over what was going to be the master plan of LA County. That master plan was something that would have taken this canyon and destroyed it completely. It would not be what it is today. One of those members in that group was Michele Acker. Michele Acker is the one who came up with the name, the Topanga Association for Scenic Community. She was one of the original board members of that group and the last living board member of that group. So I just wanted to come up and make sure everybody knew that, and just give honor and respect to a woman who stood up when not many people did, and when most people didn't really even understand what the county had in store. So Michele, I'm sure you're with us, and God bless you.
What? I'm just getting my purse. I have a little girl that was going to do it ninja style, but... Okay.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Schoenberger Gluck. Probably about the only person in this room that dates back to a relationship with Michele in the 50s at UCLA. Were any of you there then? I don't think so. You probably remember that in the mid-50s, there were still these civil defense drills. If you were little, you had to get under a desk when the bell started clanging. As UCLA students, I didn't know what we were supposed to do really. But there was a group of us, there was a scheduled civil defense drill, and a group of us decided that we were going to engage in civil disobedience. And we instead went to what's now called Powell Library. It was the only library at UCLA in 1956. And we stood there, we had press. There was a question of if we were going to be punished or not. Michele was one of that group. So she was involved with us at UCLA in either 56 or 57. I didn't realize until Evelyn Penner's memorial that I had been her TA at UCLA. Well, we moved to the Canyon in 62, a year after Michele and Chuck did. We were at, one of the things I remembered about Michele from UCLA was that incredible smile and laugh. And there was a community meeting at Topanga School when the master plan was introduced. And those old timers who were here and might have been there, we were trying to figure out what to do. And at some point, I heard that laughed and looked around, and there was that smile, and it was Michele. So she does date back to then, to UCLA. She was always active, always on the right side of things. Michele Munoz Acker presente.
I'm looking around the room and I see various people from obviously various parts of Michele's life, and in the last, month or so, we held an estate sale at Michele's house, and it was really interesting as we peeled, I would say, the layers of the onion, but the layers of the rose petal, that I saw a life unfold in various aspects, to the sewing machine, to the vintage material that she had, our handmade drapes that she'd sewn, that Ali remembered when she actually bought the material. And I noticed that everybody that came to the estate sale said that she must have been an amazing woman. And her books were incredible. The cookbooks from every part of the world, I think dating back to the 20s, the cookbooks. 4,500 books. Everything, cookbooks, to vintage, antiques, furniture, houses. I mean, it was incredible. And I just want to say that people who didn't know her, who came, really said that she must have been an amazing person. And I feel privileged that I was there and I got to look at parts of her life that I wasn't involved with. I just knew her in the last 25 years. I'm a newcomer to the canyon here, and it was really an honor to have known Michele.
I'm reading this on behalf of one of our cousins. This is for my brother. From our cousin Sharon Acker Johnson. Your mom was a favorite aunt to me in my growing up years. She was a warm, welcoming woman who enjoyed life. I loved listening to her stories and found her laughter contagious. I have many fond memories of her visiting your home, which always was a welcoming place to me. I remember the smell of her wonderful bread and the taste of the strudel, which I still have the recipe for. I smile when I recall the family coming to your house on Christmas, because this is my father's rather uptight family, so you can imagine the juxtaposition with my mother. And especially her mother of all the mothers, very tight. The woman was always on Mother's Little Helper because she just couldn't cope. She still hadn't wrapped her gifts for you and Ned. Which my brother and I can tell you, it's Christmas Day and she hadn't wrapped them yet. Her gifts to my brother and me were always thoughtful, though I confessed my disappointment when one year the gifts were a card stating that a donation had been made to a needy child in our name. But even though I was selfishly disappointed, it pointed to her sacrificial concern for others in the world who were less fortunate. I loved watching her love you and Ned as her dear children. She invested so much. She invested so much of being a mother. She enjoyed her role as a teacher to you, to her children, and did it with creative ways. And this made me laugh so hard. I remember one time, to my horror, I was about 9 or 10, asking her if she asking me if you could watch me pee in the toilet. Because she was trying to potty train me. I politely declined the request. The memories I have of Aunt Michele are many. Your mom, our move to Canada 15 years ago, made a major change in my ability to stay connected to extended family, but you all reside in my heart. I am grateful to have had your mom in my life. And that's from our cousin Sean.
Hello, my name is Caroline. I was a Martin at one time. I'm still a Martin, but I'm a Sato now. Short and sweet. Thank you. I just remember Michele when I was a kid, because I would hang around with Nettie and Allie, and I remember her as being this big, wonderful, beautiful, loud, smiley, laughing person. She was always smiling. I did not see Michele smiling. And recently, we lost a few Topangans. Michele, Ursula Gaines, and Bob Bates. Bob passed away over the summer, but we also lost Ursula Gaines recently. If any of you remember Ursula Gaines. Anyway, so I'm really pleased that Michele is not alone up there. She's got a lot of good friends up there. My mother, Sheila Martin, and we just recently had a memorial for Bob Bates, and I just know they were all hanging out. It was just, you could feel them. She's happy up there. She's living the dream, and she's totally here. I feel it. And it's so good to see all these old friends. The Nakawadasis, oh my God, it's amazing. And Michele is smiling right now because she's so happy. Everybody's here, hanging out. I haven't seen these people in 20 plus years, and thank you, Michele. You rock. And anyway, God bless.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Siepen. I don't know if you remember me, but my sisters sent me, or I came, but I told my sisters I was coming. So I'm here to represent the Siepen family, who spent. Hello, Nakawatasis. Yeah, I had a whole bunch of stuff I was going to say, but what I'd really like to talk about is the fact that I've known Ned and his sister and Michele Acker since I can remember. Ned's birthday is 12 days after mine, and we used to beat each other up in the crib. And if there's a word for Nana, then, Michele was my Nana. And she was always at all my sisters' weddings and all my parents' parties. My parents were always very famous for having these enormous, ridiculous parties for Easter, and the entire canyon would come, and we were all little tiny kids, but she always baked this amazing bread, and she would always shape her bread to fit whatever occasion she was baking said bread for. So Christmas Santa Clauses, reindeer, sometimes they'd have 4 legs, sometimes they'd have 3. Easter, there might be a bunny that baked a little different than a bunny should look, but we all agreed that I should say something about the bread. So if anyone else knows about Michele's bread, the family's all over now. All of my sisters are all, doing well. And the family's growing bigger than even from the beginning. But from my very, very earliest memories, I would just remember the kindness and the happiness and the joy that Michele always brought to any space that she occupied. She just lit it up. And I was fortunate to see her at Topanga Days, I believe maybe 2011, and have a long talk with her. I hadn't seen her in many, many, many years, and I saw her right outside here, and
Food line.
yeah, in the food line. She had a plate of food, and she was getting some more, and so was I. And we were talking about how things had changed for the worst around here, and we had plenty of laments to share about, the state of the Strawberry Festival and the conglomeration of the old Topanga to the new Topanga, but a fabulous person, a fabulous spirit, and I honestly believe that, the world and Topanga itself is a better place because Michele Acker occupied it. So I just wanted to say that. I apologize for showing up late. I came with my wife, and I got caught up showing her the sights, and there's a lot of sights to see, believe it or not. Anyway, God bless Michele, and God bless the family. And the condolences from all the Siepens, all the sisters, the grandchildren, and the great-grandchildren.
Mike, there's no such thing as being late, especially for affection.
Well, we're on Topanga time, baby.
Hi, Jim Wiley. Well, since there's kids in the house, I have one story. So after everybody moved on out of high school, Nettie and Allie are in school, I started working for Dick Sherman. And one Saturday morning, I pick up the phone, and I hear this very familiar voice. It says, "I need help. My cat stuck in a tree." And I'm like, and I knew who it was, I'm like, okay. She goes, "I called those firemen, and they're so stupid. I don't think they even know how to climb up a ladder anymore." Her words, I'm like, and I'm trying to get a word in edgewise because she just kept going on and on and on. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be right there." She goes, "Well, who is this?" I said, "It's Jimmy." And she goes, "Jimmy Wyatt? Oh, okay." So I go over there. I see this goddamn cat. pine tree in the backyard, and I don't remember how far up. I'm getting up this damn tree, and it's so full of dead needles. I was ready to get out and just go get my chainsaw and just cut the goddamn thing, you know. But of course, I had to rescue the cat. Anyway, I made her day. Yeah. Thank you.
They grow you tall in Topanga, excuse me. Hi, my name's Allison. My children go to school and they're very close with Zoe and Rafa. I am Colombian, and that was our first connection when I first met Michele. Now, I'd met her a couple of times, but this is at one of the birthday parties, and it was a very hot day. Don't forget that. That's very important to the story. But it was the first time that we actually sat at the same table. And she looked across the way, she looked at myself, and I introduced myself as Alejandro again. She goes, oh, where's your family from? Colombia. She took a second to kind of like, almost like the breeze drawing back, waiting to vet me. And she started speaking Spanish to me at a really high level of dialect. Well, we verbally jousted back, as that was very important in my family. She wasn't satisfied with that. She sat back kind of like, okay. Then she started speaking about Botero, which is one of the most famous Colombian artists. And I only know him by name. I really don't know his works that often, other than all the characters are very fat in all the art. So she starts naming this piece, that piece, that piece. What's your favorite? Again, all in Spanish. Alejandro, ¿cuál es tu favorito? And I'm all, the fat one. Shaky, barely passing. She takes a second, licks her chops, realizes she has me on the ropes. She goes, obviously in Spanish, which is your favorite literary work of Daniel Marquez, blah, 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 Colombian author? She had me there. And I looked down, knowing I was beaten. And I said, I don't know. And at that moment, she goes, se va a caer. And we point to the Winnie the Pooh character at this child party. It was so hot that she had taken off the mask, and she was walking, and she was getting ready to pass out. And your mom thought it was the funniest thing in the world. Se va a caer. Look, she's gonna fall. She's gonna fall. Yeah, she fell. Yeah, she fell. And we laughed, and we laughed, we laughed, we laughed. And from that point on, every single time there was a family gathering, I would always seek out your mom. We would catch up and chit-chat, and I'd go get her some food. And it was great. So your mother very much lives in the two of you. You both, and in the children. And I got to meet your kids today, Allie. And she was an amazing woman, and she passed on so many wonderful virtues and energy. And it was a very great pleasure and a privilege to have known her for a short time.
Okay. Strength in numbers. So Michele, for some reason, she's one of the people I've known the longest in Topanga. I moved here in '76 when I was a teenager, and she just had such a welcoming presence. And every time you saw her, you were the most important person in the world. And my brother lived with me briefly when he was 12 and went to school, and she taught him. And he's 30-something, 34 now. Every single time I saw her, I guess, she would say, how's Stormy? And I'd say, still a storm. And she adored him. And she gave so much to this community. I'm still mourning her tree out here, her Christmas tree, which I made sure was decorated every year when I was president here. And I understand it had to go, but it still kind of broke my heart a little bit because she was big on that tree. And she was just wonderful. She, always kicked our butts when we weren't doing things right at the community house. We need more handicap parking. Any extra handicap parking that has come in the last 5 or 6 years has been because she kept, pounding on the door about that. And I love and respect her, and I love Allie, and I'm just so sorry that she's gone, but I know that she'll always be in the fabric of this community. And I'm Adrian, if I didn't say that.
Everyone, please state your names just so that they know and how you knew Michele, because it's important. And I'm not going to stay up there.
I'm Eva, and I moved to Topanga when I was 11 years old, and it's really wonderful to see old friends here today. And my memories of Michele, Allie and I, as soon as I moved to Topanga, Allie and I were like, and we've been really, really close friends. She's like family to me. And my memories of Michele are memories of her being very kind to me, very gregarious. She really enveloped me just like she did all of the Topanga kids. And at home, she was really, truly messy. She was so messy. Talk about the 4,000 books that she had at home. Some of my fondest memories with Allie are us teaming up together and cleaning her house and stacking those books.
Stacking books and the load of the laundry. From the time she got to the door, the clothes would come off. And by the time we saw her, she often used her huge. So we had to do it reverse and pick up the stuff. And Eva and I were her before. Mom was good at delegating, and delegating cleaning was definitely one of those things. And Eva was definitely the one my co-conspirator after my mother every day.
She knew where her priorities were.
For those of you who don't know me, you must not have been in a canyon very long. My name's Neil Shaw. I came here in 1972. But I really only got to know Michele through the Topanga Symphony Orchestra, one of her loves. This is the first concert this past month where Michele wasn't there since I can remember. She was a booster of the symphony. She loved the programs. She even started working the kitchen because she felt that we needed to serve coffee instead of just cider and wine. And she was in there up until the August, maybe the March concert this year, working the coffee. She was a booster for most everything cultural, literary, or gustatory in the canyon. And I will miss her. Yeah. Okay.
You've been taking pictures of everybody. I was very serious.
Okay.
Hello. I'm Serena Andrews-Wiley. And this is hard. She was a canyon mom, and just like Caroline said, I could just reiterate basically what Caroline was saying. For all of us that grew up here, there was a lot of co-parenting, and we were blessed. We were blessed. Michele was always there with a warm hug. Jimmy and I were just looking at our wedding album, which was 21 years ago in this room. And Michele was there, and every time I saw her, the bread and the pesto. She made homemade bread and pesto, and it was the most amazing thing. I'll never forget that. I'm grateful to have known her, to have had her in my life. I'm grateful for you guys, and just all of it. So, love you, Michele.
Hey there, I'm Marcia Mouse, and Michelle, an amazing woman. We're so grateful to have had her in this community, and she'll always be loved and respected and remembered. But everybody missed the part that I found fascinating, was her garage sailing ability. And she and I were competitive in that, and we shared sometimes, but she was fabulous. And even to the end, if I had to sail at the Flying Pig, she would come by in her car and she'd drive up and she'd go, "What's that?" She couldn't get up, but I'd bring all this to her car and she would buy these things. And then I went to Allie's sale, their mom's sale, see if I could find any of my stuff that I sold her. And her garage sale was so overwhelming, I couldn't handle it. I didn't know how to process it. I had to leave. But I'm so grateful for knowing her and for having this friendship with her. And she's so lucky to have had this fabulous life. Hi, Caroline. Thank you.
My name's Matt, and just hearing all these stories really brings it back. I kind of share in all the stories and the events and the stuff that happened in Topanga for us as kids, and of course Michele was a big part of that. And I think we were lucky to hear all you guys tell these stories. Really brings it out. And Ned and Allie, you guys had a great mom. All our love goes to you guys. And I think you guys had the better stories when she was young, but I did get to see her at the post office in the later days, and I had many good conversations with her, and she was always, her spirit was there, and she was always advocating for something. So, yeah, I believe that she did change this place, and she certainly changed all of us. So, thank you, Michele.
Hi, everybody. My name's Adam, and I don't see my folks or my brother, so I suppose I represent the Kirby family today. I can't ever remember not knowing Ned or Allie or so many of you in this room. I don't remember meeting anybody for the first time, and I remember Michele when as a really small child, and I didn't really understand what a huge personality was, but I understood how much energy she could bring into wherever she was, a room or anything like that. So she made an impact on me just for that, just this energy that she would bring that was always so big, and she never lost it. As she aged, it was always the same. It was this big, warm, loving energy, and being around that as a young kid, it really does shape you. It makes you, it has shaped us to be the adults that we've grown into. As so many people here in the canyon have been. So she will be definitely missed. We've really lost one of our own here, and it's a hard thing. So anyway, thank you.
My name's Eric Doffner. I just remember the engaging smile and the warm, loving hug, laughter, of course, and just cherished a life well lived, and to have grown up here and been a part of that. God bless her.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chrissa Lightheart, and I didn't have the pleasure to know Michele for a very long time, especially a lot of you who are in the room today. But I'd say in the last 15 years, I got to know her primarily around the community house. And at those times, some of the meetings would get pretty contentious, actually. And she was always such a presence where I could sit down and know that it was safe to be there. And she was always so appreciative of those people who were in the community house and serving here, that they were doing that job. And I'll always remember that. She was kind of the poster child for those people who were on the side of, we need air conditioning in this building. Imagine a senior luncheon in July and Michele is here. So it was like, yeah, we need to have the air conditioning. And I remember that she would be up on Topanga days, and she'd be sitting under that tent, whether it was selling memberships for the club or if she was actually selling tickets. But and this was at a time when she really wasn't walking well, and she still showed up, and it was so nice to see her. And again, it was such a pleasure to see her happy, jolly face. One of the things that it speaks to me about how caring and how, even though I may not have known her for as many years as you all have, she stopped in my office, and she had found something in her house. It's a small little thing. It looks like a miniature spittoon, actually, if you kind of know what that looks like. And it was a token of some sort that she got in San Diego at a real estate convention. And she dropped it off in my office. She says, I thought you'd like to have it. It was from the 1920s. And I had it sitting in my kitchen, which is an appropriate place for something that Michele would give me. It would sit next to my stovetop. But when I heard that she passed, I brought this into my office, and now it sits there with me next to my phone. And I feel it's a real blessing to have someone who has become so important. And as someone said earlier, the fabric of this community is next door to me when I'm there, which is my second home. So thank you.
Said that he was on Topanga time. Well, this bread I was frequently at the Seepins parties, and the bread, everyone waited with bated breath for this bread that Michele, of course, was famous for. And she would come Topanga time, near the end of the day, with this wonderful good bread. And Michael mentioned his sisters. He had 6. All 6 sisters learned to make that same delicious bread. I'm sure Allison can make it as well. And Ned. So the bread making skill has been passed on to many good people. And it was always a joy to see her, even if she had come without this delicious bread. I'm Evelyn Jensen. I'm Gary Jensen's mother, and Peter Jensen.
Are there any more stories out there? Anyone? Any last takers? Good. I'm good. Oh, how about, can I have a picture with my brother?
Couple more stragglers.
Okay, can we say queso?
Queso. Hola, buenos tardes. I was speaking Spanish with my kids here at the community house when I met Michele. And she said, "Ooh, you're a güera, pero tú hablas muy bien español. You're such like a American white girl, but you're Spanish." And I said, "Oh, no, my husband, he's from Spain, and we're trying to have our children be bilingual." So I try my best to speak Spanish. And she adopted us. She said, "Come over, we're having a Three Kings party. Come over, hang out with us." And when I walked into her house, I felt immediately just a dear friend. She, with her art and her books and her Spanish and her Buddhism, we just connected as great friends. So I wanted to say thank you to your family for sharing your mother with the Canyon. So thank you.
And we want to thank you for taking such good care of her as her neighbors and always being there for her when we couldn't be there. So that was, Anyone else? Any last stories? Michele stories? No, I think that's it. Okay. I just wanted to thank you all for coming. Nitty, come. We've got, there's so many amazing people here. Martha, who took care of her for 20 years, basically.
Gracias, Marta. Thank you, Marta.
Gracias. And her lovely husband. I don't know. The mess was curtailed because of Marta. Marta worked very hard to organize our mother and try to keep her going forward. And
She was the one who kept the closet from exploding at all times.
And we thank you for that because it's made a difference now.
And she really became kind of a caregiver to my mother in the last couple of years, where she was having a hard time getting around, and Marta was always there. Thank you.
And she took care of everything. So my mother gave to the community, but the community gave back, and everybody helped her, and I think that's what really kept her going. Honestly, with her medical issues, she should have been gone long ago. Really. But because of her tenacity, because of her indomitable spirit, because of all the love, I think that's what kept her going. And I thank you all for that.
Yeah, likewise. There's a lot of people in here, a lot of faces I haven't seen for many years, and we've been combing through photographs, and there's some up here, so if you have not seen them, we have lots more, and I found some stuff. I just found a little treasure trove, actually, from Devin Wright's birthday. I think Devin was probably 8 or so, or 7, because I was about 4, and I'm standing on a table, standing over his cake, looking down at it. There's some great stories that we could go on and on about from when we were little kids, and share about the community. But some of you guys who didn't know her back then, it didn't really matter when you got to know my mother, or our mother. She was a force of nature. She was somebody who you couldn't really reckon with, because she didn't really play by rules very often.
There were no rules. She made up her own.
And there were she became a part of many people's families, like Mike was saying about the Seepins, and a lot of you, and Megan was saying with the Rices. She was part of so many different families and so many different circles within different communities, with Roy and Terry, who brought us into the Buddhist community when we were little kids. And we just want to thank all of you for all of the things that you did for my mother, with my mother. I would like to also thank my wife, Erica, and my kids as well, for always being there and always having the patience with my mom. My mom was not an easy person necessarily to get along with, and be a child of. Allie and I both had issues with her from time to time, where we would feud because she was not because she didn't play by the rules. She was not someone who conformed very well. But her heart was so generous and so big, and she belonged to all these organizations, and I think she had a huge impact with like AME, like Task, like all these different groups that she either helped begin or was part of. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for being supportive of her, especially in the last couple of years when her mobility really slowed down and she became, it was much more difficult for her to kind of communicate outside of a smaller and increasingly smaller bubble. And some of you guys really, really helped her out. So I want to thank you, and on behalf of her, tell you how much she loved all of you. Thank you.
And the one group that was forgotten, that Nettie was your Topanga preschool. Yeah, because that's really
yes, and thank you, because that's something that you guys are involved in, and we were right here at that preschool.
Yes. And Adam, preschool members, raise your hands.
Yeah, Topanga preschool, yay! Topanga preschool, yay! Yes.
There was a whole.
And still going.
And still it's morphed. It's Topanga.
It's Topanga.
Welcome back. When it was getting a bit weak, I had a talk with her, and she said, "You have to keep this preschool going." And I got on the board of the preschool.
Sí se puede.
Going, and so she was a great inspiration for the children.
And she made everyone feel special, and that's an amazing quality to have in life, is to give of yourself in a way that everybody's come up to me and said, I was her favorite, and I had a special relationship with her.
Kind of the Bill Clinton of Topanga. She really made everybody feel like that they were particularly special to them, which is a good quality to have, I guess. It's a kind of retail politician, but we invite you guys all to keep hanging out. We've got more food and wine, and don't leave until it's all gone. Okay, thank you.
Let's live in a hideout at Topanga. Come on, let's head out to them hills. Lots of stained glass, cold water in the bath. We can live without those fancy frills. Let's live in a tree in Topanga. Maybe in the leaves they'd leave us be. We could live in a squirrel hole and play our rock and roll. Come out on the limb and you can't be a nut like me. Yeah!